Hi, I'm Shelley, and I'm here to break a myth. No, this is not an episode of the TV program Mythbusters. Busting this myth requires your participation. I'd like to read you a letter sent to a local newspaper. Can anyone explain to me how hospice has effectively convinced the world that a person's quality of life is measurable, and that if a patient fails to meet the criteria, medicine, food, and water should be denied? My brother was removed from an intensive care unit, taken off antibiotics, oxygen, food, and water, and given morphine to keep him in a catatonic state. Hospice personnel convinced his healthcare proxy that since his life expectancy would only be about 3 months, it would be cruel to allow him to recover from a failed operation. So my brother is on death row. His crime? Having doctors who ignored his symptoms until it was too late. There'll be no last meal for Richard, nor a drop of water. He will slowly dehydrate and die. I called this morning. I was told he was resting peacefully. As you've probably guessed, I wrote the letter. My brother was admitted to a Florida hospital. Within 8 days, he underwent 3 painful surgical procedures and a 4.5-hour operation. Although all 4 failed, he was steadfast in 2 beliefs. He wasn't ready to die, and he couldn't imagine the world without him being in it. 5 days after I flew home, I was informed that my brother was yanked out of intensive care and moved to a hospice facility. I was shocked because just a few hours earlier, I had talked with his nurse at the ICU. Although Richard was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, the doctors said they can control his pain. The upside of being designated terminal is that they don't worry about how many drugs you take. You're not going to become addicted. You won't live long enough. He had perhaps 3, 6, maybe even 9 months to live. So palliative care appeared to be logical. But I still was shocked that they moved him directly from an intensive care unit to a hospice facility 25 miles away. When I questioned the hospice nurse about his condition, she said that he was being kept asleep with morphine, not being given any food or water, and resting peacefully. Resting peacefully. I guess that's the new euphemism they're using for dehydrating someone to death. It's definitely less offensive and controversial than saying, since water is essential to life, your brother is experiencing muscle spasms, racing pulse, shriveled skin, difficulty breathing, seizures, unconsciousness, and by the way, he'll die soon. Since the longest anybody has ever survived without water is 10 excruciating days. In the United States, euthanasia and suicide are illegal, but withholding food and water from a patient isn't. The hypocrisy is outrageous. It's as outrageous as hospice's position that it's dying with dignity, and that it's an acceptable choice when a person has been designated terminal. My brother was not emaciated. He was not at death's door. He was fighting to recover from 4 surgical procedures done within 8 days. He was fighting to live. He wanted whatever time he had left to spend with his family. But his healthcare proxy was pressured and led to believe that it was cruel to keep him alive. I don't understand. Since when have doctors, social workers, and hospice personnel been anointed with the power to decide the value of human life? And yet thousands of Americans are suffering at this very moment as their bodies shut down bit by bit because somebody has made a decision about their value as a human being. Let's bust the quality of life myth. Nobody has the right to determine the value of another person's existence. And there is nothing compassionate or humane about making somebody suffer by killing them through dehydration. Thank you for listening, and I'd really appreciate if you pass this along. We have to break this myth. God bless.